Board. So let me just get us started here. First of all, for those of you online, thank you for joining us today. Unfortunately, you're going to miss out on a couple of the things that are available to us today, but we got biscuits. Yahoo! We'll get that started in just a second. We have our special guest today. I'll introduce him in just a moment. But the first thing is I wanted to build just a little bit of context for what we're doing here. So you remember this class is kind of 3 streams of activity plus a little bit extra for our grad students. But one of those streams of activity is to partner with the company and to basically ideate, just to innovate on their behalf, to give them as many ideas as we can come up with. And so what this process is going to look like is we're going to have an introduction today, hopefully be armed with enough data that we can start ideating on this, but we're going to literally come up with hundreds of ideas for that company. And we're going to go through this gating method where we trim that down. Like say, each of you will come up with, somewhere between 10 and 20 ideas for this company. And then you'll pick your 3 favorites. You're going to be your own gate at first. I'll give you a criteria, but you can be your own gate. We'll get this down to we'll get down to 1 on a per person basis. Then we'll form into teams and pick a singular or family of ideas, closely related family ideas to present. And we're going to be presenting to the families, some people maybe from the family, and a competitive format. So we'll maybe have 5 teams in the class that we can all kind of present our ideas and see which one they like the best. So this is just going to be this ideation and creativity process that we go through. And so many of our ideas will be thrown away. Remember, I began the class with the 3,000 to 1 ratio. For every one idea that actually has market impact, we're going to have 2,999 that don't. So don't worry about the quality of your ideas back here. Just throw them out there. If you say crazy stuff like they should sell mufflers, for cars, it's not a terrible idea. It's just an idea. Remember, we're all safe to throw crazy ideas into the pot. So this is the context. So here we are with our introduction today. So let me introduce to you a good friend of mine, a fellow elder at our church, and the 30-year owner, 36-year owner-operator of Bankston's. This is Brent Bankston. Let's give him a hand. And what I'd love for you to do is just give us a background, maybe a little history, some context, but especially kind of share with us the 3 stores in Austin and what your ambition might be for those. So I'm just going to leave it wide open. You kind of go where you want.
Do you want biscuits later?
Yeah, let's maybe just go ahead and get that started.
Sure. So, I don't know.
You want to explain?
So, yeah, my name's Brent Bankston, as Bradley eloquently stated, and my family is from Waco. I was born and raised here. My dad had a tire muffler business for many years in the early 70s, late 60s, all the way through until we closed it in the mid 90s, about the time y'all were just being thought of. The idea for my father was that anything ever happened to him, he realized that if something despicable, he died, something, a stroke, whatever, that 2 small boys and a mom could not effectively run a tire and muffler center. And so that beget Bankston's. If anybody has been there, you kind of have a context. We do baseball cards, comic books, toys, everything you do not need in this world, especially during COVID. But despite that, we have a lot of fun. And so we've now, that business, Bankston's, has then now beget here in Waco, King's Landing, which is a gaming store. And inside that is Buttermilk Biscuit, which is my wife's business. And it's a cafe. And we serve biscuits. And so you might have heard about the biscuits, and they're really good. Or you might hate them. I don't know. You'll get to taste them today. You can make your own decision. So anyway, here's some biscuits. And I don't know how you want to do that. They're all wrapped, I think. So I asked them to individually wrap them.
Awesome.
And they did. That's good.
All right,
so here we go. They should be warm because I just took them out. So there you go. There you go. We'll have more. I brought like 25 or 26 of them. So there you go. I'm coming y'all's way next.
Would you pull one for me?
Sure. There you go. So we got 3 more over here. You can feel to eat those. You can save them later. They're always tasty. But so Buttermilk Biscuit was a small endeavor that I told her. I said, hey, just feed the gamers on the weekends. Well, little do we know that would turn into what it's turned into now, where probably our most marketable business is Buttermilk Biscuit. So this shows you God has a plan that you do not necessarily always have. free. If Bradley doesn't take them, y'all can have the rest of them as well. So if you're hungry, you've got a roommate or a friend or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you can take these to them and spread the love. So anyway, all that to say is Butter My Biscuit now is a cafe within King's Landing. So anybody have context when I'm talking about King's Landing, Bankston's, Butter My Biscuit? Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
1,
Yeah.
2, 3. Good. That's better ratio than I thought. Usually I come to speak and it's like 1, and I'm like, dang, we're not doing enough advertising in the bubble. So anyway, so Bankston's has businesses. In 1994, we opened Austin Books, which was a store there that's been there since 1977. She was talking about it over there, has like a unicorn outside, on the sign, and it's right at 51st and Lamar. So it's I say Waco, it's an Austin institution. And so we bought that in 1994, and then kind of put our X's and O's in it. My brother took it over, and it became not only one of the top shops in this area, but in the world. So just Austin being kind of a tech mecca. Dell was popping at that time. Rick Linkletter at Austin at University of Texas was starting to kind of become big. Quentin Tarantino, I met him there so all those guys that was where everything was really starting to pop. So anyway, Austin Books took off. As time went forward, Austin Books spread their wings a bit and opened additional stores. Guzu, which is basically a vinyl store. You may have context of what vinyl is. Not vinyl as in records, but in vinyl little figures. And so these stuff, kind of like these, little small guys, little blind boxes, Godzilla stuff. So its store is basically all vinyl. And it's artists come in, they do their own versions of them. So they'll paint one and turn it into a mosaic kind of thing, turn it into their artist interpretation. So it's very artsy, very kind of Austin, as y'all probably have some context of Austin. I know she does. So all that to say is that that's what Guzu is. And it is one of these entities that it does okay. It's not a big profit margin for us. It's not one of we rely upon it. And I'll just shoot you some numbers. So Austin Books, which is the anchor of that shopping center, should say this, 51st and Lamar, Austin Books is the big anchor. Next to it is a little store, Guzu. Behind it is another store, Outlaw Moon and Games, which is where they carry a lot of this stuff. So it's vintage games, new games, Pokemon, Magic, that kind of stuff. And I would encourage y'all to do research. Go to Google, just do some searches, and you kind of get your own context of this. All that to say is that those stores are basically like just islands. Bradley put it right. They're islands off of the mainland, which is Austin Books. Those stores do okay. They're not big profit generators, but they, in a synergy sort of way, they benefit us. So the numbers, Austin Books runs a year roughly $2 million. Okay.
Oh, let me pause you right there. So my encouragement is to take notes. And the reason why, partly, we're going to need it to do this exercise, but also I'll create a little assignment, much like we did with Joe Dondelinger, just a quick little review of interesting things you heard during this presentation. So this is kind of good data to track and understand.
So that store alone is our biggest revenue generator on a month-to-month basis, on a year-to-year basis, and it is also one of our highest cost per square foot because it's Austin, Texas. And if y'all have any context, Austin's going to be much higher than Waco, Texas. So those stores next door, so Guzu runs roughly about $225,000 a year, so significantly less, right? Guzu is a small percentage, so that's averaging about $600 a day. So in gross sales, that's not even profit. That's just gross sales. Next door, which is Outlaw Moon and Games, runs a little bit more. They run about $250,000 a year. Now, despite what my inclination is, which is to come in and to, kind of shake things up and stir the chicken feed, this is the opportunity Brad wanted to have for y'all to come up with ideas. So what is Guzu and Outlaw Moon and Games? What could those entities become? What are they not doing? What are they doing? What is the product selection? So I already talked about Guzu. I did not talk about Outlaw Moon Games other than the fact that they have vintage gaming, they have current gaming, and they sell vintage toys. So basically, they took everything that we do at Bankston's and made their own entity, right? So at Bankston's, if you've ever been in there, you walk in, it's baseball cards, comic books, toys, and then you kind of have all these realms within this large umbrella. Austin Books, just because of space limitations, because of what they do, they just chose a different path, which was location, all in the same block. So you can just make the whole block all at one time. There are synergistic, as I said earlier, but those are some of the pluses and the minuses of how you go about structure, right? How do you structure your business? How do you appeal to the same customer base? And there's some customers that come back and they're like, I had no idea there's other stores behind it. Well, that's the fault of the employee behind the counter. Hey, go around the corner, right? That's communication. But anyway, that's some of the DNA of what we do. Now, Bradley made a point for me to explain to you, express to you how I say that. What we do is unlike most businesses. Our inventory rarely goes down in value. It at least maintains. You all have some context of collectability, right? You've all collected something or you knew somebody who did. If it was rocks, coins, stamps, baseball cards, four-wheelers, whatever. The idea behind that is that for us, our inventory tends to maintain its value, and maybe a small decrease in the short run, but in the long term, it tends to increase in value. So, all that to
Can I pause
say,
you on that for just a second? Because I think there's a couple of fun examples you've mentioned in the past, like when a new movie comes out. In
Absolutely.
particular, an unusual movie, like say, Guardians of the Galaxy.
sure, we took a B-level character base. Y'all all seen Guardians of the Galaxy? Those guys, did anybody know any of those characters before those movies? No. Star-Lord? Really? But you got to put Chris Pratt in that position, and you're like, I know who that is now. So you took B-level characters and turned them into rock stars. So now, comic books are sitting in our warehouses, which the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a completely different team, by the way, but they evolved over time. They take these characters, they put them on the big screen, suddenly the Marvel Universe, we're all like, woo! So now it's the first appearance of Gamora, which I think is Avengers 185. That book is now a $80, $100 book, which before it was sitting in quarter bins. See the point? So it's a matter of being opportunistic and looking for those needles in the haystack.
There was another example, if I may, on
Yeah,
the sports side. You talked about somebody being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame, and then all of a sudden it's, the long retired,
Yeah,
bottom of the bin athlete.
yeah. Suddenly there's high demand. So it's all about, right now, and especially in the social context of our world, where we're all connected, right now on your phones, by the time you go to class, you'll have some kind of update. Hey, this is going on. This is so-and-so's playing this. So-and-so got this, whatever, all this information. How does that affect us? How does it affect our buying habits? What impacts us from a day-to-day operation of what makes us buy what we're going to buy? Or, recently with COVID, everything was shut down. So we're all on our phones. We're all on our social media. We're all on our laptops or whatever it may be, trying to look for some form of entertainment. And so as a result of that, we're somewhat stimulated, if you will, to purchase things, right? That's just kind of the engine that we are as a capitalistic society. I'm a big fan, obviously. But my point is, and to Brad's point, is that there's different factors that cause people to buy certain things. Hall of Fame induction is one. So if somebody suddenly, who you never thought was going to be in the Hall of Fame, suddenly goes in the Hall of Fame, demand. Who just died? Does anyone tell me who just died a couple days ago? Football player, played for the Chicago Bears.
Gail Sayers.
Gail Sayers. Gail Sayers, thank you. One of the greatest running backs of all time. One that has, if you ever go to YouTube, one of the most mythical, incredible runs of all time. He's sliding, he's jumping up, he's running down. Well, suddenly, guess what we're selling on our online stores? All our Gail Sayers stuff. Whoa, whoa. Why is that? He passed away. What's underneath that? Emotion. Oh, I remember seeing that guy. Or, hey, I remember him. Or, hey, I saw a Brian song, which starred James Caan and Billy D. Williams. I know that's probably wrong context. Y'all probably have no context of what I'm talking about. But my point is that there's something underneath why we buy what we buy. There's some kind of stimuli that makes us react. And that's what we do. So we respond to somebody who says, this guy just written to me ago asked, hey, who's this guy? It's Captain Gundam, by the way. I had to look it up and ask these guys who it was. So there's a Gundam, right? Baby Yoda. You may have an idea, if you've seen Mandalorian, there's Baby Yoda. Or as he said, the baby. Well, we call it Baby Yoda, right? So all these things stimulate us in a way. Godzilla, there's tons of people who love Godzilla. There's a Robin figure. You know, all these things, and what's underneath that? Nostalgia, right? Emotion. Oh, I remember that. Or, hey, I always wanted that, right? So that's what we do. So now I don't want to push back on the hay. I said we're looking for the needles in the haystack, but we got to sell a lot of hay too, right? We got to sell a lot of, I don't know that any of these really are needles. This might be a needle. This maybe, but the rest of the stuff is pretty much hay. And when I say that is because there's lots of people out there who want regular products. They want the regular stuff. The needles are the things that we try to maximize upon online, and so or in a particular situation. So if you go to Outlaw Moon and Games website, you'll see lots of images, or Google, you'll see lots of images of toys from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, all the way up, plus gaming and product. Well, right now, we're not allowed to do a lot of gaming because of COVID, right? We don't have a lot of, look at all y'all, spread out. Well done. Well, imagine trying to play somebody. Has anybody played Magic Gathering? Anybody played Magic here? Nobody? It's basically like it's no Magic the Gathering people. All right. Anyway, if you played cards or canasta or, I don't know, poker, you basically have somewhat of a relationship with the person across from you, right? You have some, so imagine D&D. You may play D&D here. Wow. No D&D at all. Does anybody have a context of what D&D is?
What games do we play in here?
Homework.
What you say?
Catan.
Catan, yeah, Settlers of Catan. It's one of our top sellers. So you imagine you and your friends get together and play Settlers of Catan. Right now, in our location at Kings Landing on South Lane Mills Drive, there's not a lot of that going on. People are feared, right? There's concern. So there's a lot of intimate, close gaming. Hey, woo, you know, whatever. That's not going on. So we have to find ways to maximize and succeed through these times that are kind of down. So those are kind of things, kind of just background DNA. Where should I go from there? I threw a lot at you.
I have a question, I guess.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing that makes you the most money at each of the stores? So like, what is it, like the main operation, like aside from like other things that you
So
sell?
Bankston's and Austin Books are our two true money generators.
Yeah, is that just comic books?
Comic books and baseball cards are our meat. That's our go-to. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of the business. They're the highest profit margins. They're the most frequently bought. That's a lot of the hay.
Is it new inventory, or is it stuff you have to find and buy and sell and trade?
Both. Both.
So mention the warehouse and how you.
So probably 7, 8, maybe 8 years ago, we purchased a large collection, and it was not going to be, we're not going to be able to contain it on our current premises. So we had to build a huge warehouse to kind of consolidate all our inventory, much like I talked about the Gamora appearance. So to find something, the first appearance of Star-Lord, first appearance of Rocket Raccoon, first appearance of, I just use Guardians of the Galaxy because that's the most extreme version. Everybody wants Cap's first appearance in Silver Age, which is Avengers 4. Everybody wants Hulk 181, which is anybody whose first appearance in Hulk 181. Come on. Shing.
Wolverine.
Bam. Wolverine. So that book right now, during COVID, has almost doubled in price. It was 6,000 to 7,000. You can't touch one for less than 12,000 to 15,000 currently. That's the kind of crazy that goes on during COVID because people have
So
money.
did you manage to find one of those in the warehouse?
I don't have one currently because that book's been in demand for a long time.
Okay.
But if I had one, I could easily flip it for more than what we had it before COVID. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's other keys that are doing the same thing. Amazing Fantasy 15, which is first appearance of. Amazing Fantasy 15 has the same name, Amazing Spider-Man, thank you. First appearance of Spider-Man. We have one of those in the store right now. I think we have 12 or 15,000 on it. It's probably a $200,000, $250,000 book, but because it has somebody wrote in marker on the front of the
Oh.
So they wrote on the, kids did whatever kids did. So point being is that that's the kind of stuff we are constantly engaged in. Products those are the needles, but there's also lots of inventory in our warehouses where we sell lots of hay. We have to go out there and be opportunistic and maximize upon those things. Yes, sir?
Oh, I was gonna ask, how do you go about like pricing those things that just spike in demand? Is it just based off of the market or?
Yeah, it changes. Right now, it's moment by moment, day by day. Dak Prescott goes off Saturday, throws for 450 yards. His rookies, which were about $15 to $18 for a particular one, are now selling between $40 and $60. That's from Sunday to now. This is Thursday. And it's moment by moment, day by day. I've never, in my 36 years doing this, and obviously I was younger before that, so I was 15 when we opened up. So when I was younger, it was based on price guides, which was paper back in the day, right? So, oh, so-and-so is this, Amazing Fantasy is this, whatever. Now it's online. It's also looking at trends. There's lots of things, there's kind of metrics that track that. So it gets really crazy. If anybody's following the NBA, a few weeks ago, Manute Bol's son blew up. His card went from $10 to $50 overnight. So I'm listing them on Amazon because we're not gonna sell Bol here in Waco, Texas, Denver Nugget. So I'll put them online and sell them for $50 and $60. Boom, 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 boom. That's what we do. That's just one facet, and it's only about 10 to 15% of our business. The rest of it is in store.
So let's talk about in-store. One of the ideas you've talked about before is like dollar velocity per square foot.
Yep.
So maximizing, literally the traffic in your relatively small store.
Sure. So look down. There's these squares in the carpet. Just to say these are a little larger than a foot, but roughly, what's that? Yeah, they're like 1.5. So imagine these are 1 foot squares. My father always taught me every foot of your retail space has to pay for itself. So imagine every one of these having to pay for itself. This square has to pay for itself every day. This square, this square, and this square, and this square, and this square. Every square foot has to pay for itself. Not only that, but it has to pay for employees, the electricity, has to pay for all those things that you're operating. So it's a very tactile way of thinking about the way you do business. So in our store, at Bankston's, we can look at a case and go, okay, what are our sales we're generating out of that case? Hey, this rotating case, this display case, this wall of comics, what are we generating? Now, that's my job because our employees probably don't have that same understanding or that brevity of experience. So it's for us to actually think through what are our customers seeing, what are they buying, what are they responding to? The marketplace, like you suggested. Are they seeing something trend? Hey, DAC cards are going crazy. I'm gonna go buy a DAC card down at Bankston's. That happens every day. Are we appropriately reacting to the market? Guy came in last week from Portland. What's going on in Portland right now? Fires. Rioting and fires, right, both. He came here because his family is living in Oklahoma, so he came down to see them. He drove all the way to Houston to fly back to Portland. He's waiting for all the fires to come down. He couldn't see his neighbor's house, he told me, outside because there's that much smoke. And so he's buying up cards going from Oklahoma all the way down to Houston. And so his job right now is he's buying up product to take back to Florida. And he's buying up all our Larry Birds. Don't know why he's buying up Larry Birds, but he bought them up. Well, I figured out why after. He paid $40 to $50, $60 a piece for those. And now they're selling for $100, $200, $175, that range. Well, that's on us. We should have been quicker on that draw, right? But he got one over us. Okay. Move on. Sell something else.
So let's compare. So this is kind of cool that the price fluctuation in the collectibles market, the used collectibles market or the older collectibles market, but the gaming business and maybe the art business aren't quite the same dynamic.
That's why we have such a diverse portfolio, because there's times in our business where this is not going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's other times when it's much more an appeal of, like you said, art, vinyls, all that. There's everybody collects something in our realm, and why do they shop with us was one of the questions you wanted me to answer. I think 1, it has to be customer service. 2, product selection. 3, you have some form of presence or expected expertise in that field. So that's the things that we have to engender.
Okay, that's
to
a
our
rich
customer base.
answer. Let's pause on this for a second. You said customer service. Why do you
Always
think
lead with that.
you are special on customer service?
Traditionally, and if y'all have ever been, has anybody even walked into a comic book store wherever you're from? Has anyone ever been in a comic book store? Traditionally, customer service is not their priority. Usually they came from their grandma's closet and they had a big stack of stuff in there and they collected it. We have applied, and I'm not blowing smoke here. What I'm saying is that customer service has to be paramount in whatever you do in your life. And y'all probably work in retail some form or fashion in your lives, right? And that matters. Customer service matters. How you portray yourself to your consumer, even if you work for somebody else, how are you on the front lines? That person is one of the most vital people who's interacting with your customer base. Vital. And I referenced it just a minute ago. My employee at the front should have told that customer, oh, well, you have many more stores around the corner. You like that kind of stuff? Go around the corner. It's 90 feet. 90 feet costs you a sale, possibly. I wake up at night thinking about those kind of things. We have about 60 employees or customer representatives in our business. And every one of them should fight for our lives every single day, because that square has got to pay for itself. It's got to pay for you, right? And so, did I
Let's
answer the
talk
question?
about, well, a little bit. How do you, first of all, I'll just tell you what I've observed, and maybe you can kind of tease it out. One is that you think about customers in terms of relationship.
Always.
It's not a one and done need. It's a
Long-term, not short-term.
In fact, I've watched you do it. People walk in the store and you assume everyone is a long-term customer.
Sure. Embedded into everything we do.
The second thing I've seen you do is this weird community thing. Like, it's a big tent. There's a lot of diversity coming into your store.
Sure.
Maybe on dimensions we're not accustomed to seeing. It's just the nature of the business that you're in. And you think of them as, I've got to create a habitat.
Safe habitat, right.
A safe place for all of these very divergent points
Sure.
of view and
Sure.
all of that. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
So, yeah, to answer that question, makes me go back to when I was a little kid. Y'all probably had this situation happen in your lives. You know, were you ever in a situation where you were judged or ignored? You know, maybe you were in a line at the grocery store. Mine was, I remember I was in line at the grocery store, and I was buying a candy bar or something, and I'm in line, and the woman would not wait on me. Like, she was just this little kid. I probably was 7, 8, 9 years old. And I asked my mom, I was like, this lady wouldn't wait on me. Finally, she did, but it took a while for her to wait on me. And she said something to me that stuck in my head. She goes, it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, anything about you. She says, your money's green. She goes, that's the only color that matters in that situation. And I appreciate that. So I remember her saying that to me at 7 or 8. So I treat all our customers, I don't care who you are, what you are, where you come from, your color, your race, your creed, doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, our job is to treat you the best we can so we develop a relationship with you. And you can buy anything of this here, you can buy anywhere, especially on Amazon, eBay, down the street, doesn't matter. Why do they want to buy things from us at Bankston? Why do they want to buy things from us in Austin Books? Why do they want to buy things from us? Because you want to make sure that they understand long-term there's a relationship there. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to, oh yeah, you wanted this? The guy, David, just blanked on his last name, he owns Chick-fil-A, the one on I-35. Huh?
David Sikora?
Sikora, David Sikora. Who said that? Thank you, David. So he and his kids are huge Mandalorian fans. So yesterday I'm doing our previews order in our comic book guide, and it's got a picture of a real deal helmet. It's like $549 for this prop you put on your head of the Mandalorian helmet. Well, his parents, David and his kids were talking about how they wanted this thing for Halloween. So I shot a picture and I sent it to him via text. He's like, man, he said, that's a little more expensive than my kids need, a $500 helmet. He said, but thank you. That's the kind of thing we have to do on a daily basis to make a difference in these people's lives. Otherwise, why do they care? They just get whatever. It becomes impersonal. I want to make it very personal. And that's one of our goals. And all our employees, sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. Right?
Talk about that community side of that then.
There's kind of pockets within our businesses. So you have sports cars, comics, toys, gaming, food now. How is it that each of those communities resonate, right? What makes you unique? And also interested in going to a baseball card night or going to a free comic book day. Anybody ever heard of free comic book day? Anybody here? No one? Dang, I failed again. Free comic book day has been going on for 21 years, and it is the day. A guy named Joe Fields from California started it with his own comics. Now we produce roughly, I'm trying to remember the number, several million comics on that day to give away free. First Saturday in May every single year. Obviously 2020 that did not happen.
You and these to go out.
those are two different ones, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Comic
yep.
book bin.
So
Yeah.
every first Saturday in May, every year is Free Comic Book Day. And people come from all over. We'll have between 2,000 and 3,000 people come to our little store. We put out bouncy houses, we have DJs, we have bands that play, we have cosplayers. Basically put on our own little comic book show. The idea is that we want to build a community. So we want to make it fun for you to get something free. So we spend probably between $10,000 and $12,000 on that event, but we see it come back in so many different ways. I saw people who call in from other parts and they're like, hey, you doing that thing this year on that thing? And yep, yes, we are. First Saturday in May, please come. So 2021 should be really big because we have a lot of comic books that we didn't give away this year for 2021. So if y'all are on a 10 next year, if you're here in town, come to Bankston's on that week. It's always first Saturday in May for 21 years. You got a question?
Yeah, do you have anything like that for the art place?
For Guzoo?
Yes.
No.
So I know like in.
They do benefit from it, but we don't have anything specific to that.
No, I don't mean just like comics, but I mean maybe like, I know in San Antonio, every first Friday is like an event. Like every first Friday you go out, you go downtown, there's music, there's festivals, there's arts. Like you kind of like, is it
Yeah.
like a first Friday thing for y'all? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Art place?
yeah, they have done premieres, so Bernie Wrightson and some of these guys, Donnie Cates, some of these guys are from Austin, have done signings and appearances at the store at Guzoo. So they've done similar things, but not on that scale. So community-wise is what he was asking about. That's one of the things that we, obviously, I think we're constantly trying to find where customers feel comfortable, right? Some people don't want to be that intimate or that involved with a business. That's fine too. We'll provide you what you want and move along. But as you get to know people, that's where real relationships happen. And that's where long-term, I think, is you're capable of creating a bond where they're gonna think, hey, I bet Brent can get that for me, or hey, and we have thousands and thousands and thousands of customers that appreciate that about us.
You guys remember the old idea of the third place? There's work, there's home, and then
What's
there's
your
that
third place,
third
right?
place you hang out. Church is typically one, Starbucks is typically one.
Sure.
And I kind of think that your store ends up being one of those third places, particularly the gaming center.
Yeah, definitely on King's Landing, I would agree with
And
that.
you've told me, and I'm just reminding you because I think his stories are kind of awesome. Two stories that really struck me. One was you mentioned a comic book collector who came in who was not sanitary.
Oh, yeah.
And it was bad enough that, like, it was disturbing to other customers.
Sure.
And so you had an uncomfortable conversation.
I thought it made a difference, yeah.
Do you want to just describe that moment?
So this kid, he was coming in the store and I remember he had a bag of toys, a bag of beat up, nasty toys, and he wanted to sell them. And it looked like he'd been living on the streets. And so I said, hey, we'll buy them from you. And I got Jamie, who's our toy guy, and he ended up not giving the kid, I don't know how much it was, but he paid for the toys. But the guy reeked. I'm talking, no, just smell reeked. It was bad. And so he left, and I thought, okay, that's one situation that presents itself. We came back the next day with another bag of toys. And it was so bad, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna have to buck it up and take this kid outside and talk to him. So Jamie's looking through the toys, I said, hey man, why don't you step out here? So we walk outside, we're out in front of the store, and I said, hey, do you have access to a shower? I mean, that's a tough conversation to have with a customer. I'm like, hey, do you have access to a shower? And he kind of nodded his head, and I said, well, you can get your clothes cleaned, do you have access to that? He kind of nodded his head, and I was like, okay. I said, well, why don't you do that? And I said, we're gonna welcome you here, you're always able to come in and see us. He wasn't really audible, he didn't really say a lot. But anyway, Jamie bought his toys again, the next bag of toys. They were all kind of like a little plastic H-E-B bag. So he leaves. The next day, or maybe 2 days later, he comes in and he is clean, his clothes are clean, his smells good, and he's holding himself high, and I'm like, woo, man, that was a win. I made a difference in this kid's life. And I'm patting myself on the back. I didn't see him for a couple weeks, came back in, right back to where he was. And I was like, oh. I was like, so sometimes yeah, that's right. Sometimes you realize that, and for whatever reason, I felt like that was a short-term win, right? And so that's the kind of relationships that we have to have. Sometimes it's a tough conversation to have with a customer. And I'm glad you brought that up because I'd forgotten about that kid. And I still can remember his face. But, you know, those are kind of things that about having tough conversations. Sometimes you have to tell customers have tough things to say, and that's okay. We accept you, you receive you, and do the best we can with you. So,
There's one other fun story along those same lines that I remember. When you guys first opened up Butter My Biscuit, or maybe just the gaming center, you got a liquor license, or a beer and wine license,
yeah,
however that
beer,
works.
wine, yeah.
And the little old ladies who wanted to play
Mahjong.
mahjong and drink
Mimosas.
mimosas on Tuesday mornings.
Tuesday mornings. So there's a group of ladies, and they still actually come and eat. They haven't played mahjong in a while, but they still come and eat. So these ladies are probably, I'd say the youngest is probably in her 60s, the eldest is probably in her 80s. And in mahjong you have to play in groups of 4. So there's 4 women, so usually there's 12 or 16. And they have to play on exactly 4x4 tables. So they have to have the exact measurements. I guess because they don't want to cheat or something. I don't know how the chips and all the tiles. You play mahjong? You may ever play mahjong? Yep. So it's basically tiles, and you have your own set. And anyway, these ladies want to come on. They asked Lee and said, "Hey, can we come play mahjong?" We're like, "Absolutely." And they said, "We want to be there promptly. Open up, and you have to have tables set up ready to go for us." We're like, "We'll take care of it." So Lee started serving them, and of course, initially they were getting pretty lit because they're drinking mimosas, and they started eating. And now those ladies have been some of our biggest ambassadors. They bring people from all over, so a lot of them still come to eat. They're not as much on the mahjong, so that's been kind of out right now. But eating and the mimosas, that's up.
Okay.
So
All right.
it shows you thinking long term, right? That was 4 years ago, and here they are still coming in. So what if that had gone poorly, right? What if that had gone sideways? What if we said, "No, we're not going to allow that," right? Taking up a room, which we only seat roughly, right now during COVID, we're about 50 people. Normally you can fit up to 88, but you can't put that many in right now. So anyway,
75% now, right?
75%, but for us it's kind of limiting. So
Yeah.
we can't fit that many in there. It's good, and keep the space we need.
Yeah. Okay, guys, why don't we take like about a 5-minute break, talk to your neighbors, and just start coming up with some questions that will help us maybe build out a little infrastructure mentally to ideate about the 3 businesses in Austin. So just very quickly review the 3 businesses in Austin.
Austin Books, which is our horse, that's our horse. Guzu, which is the vinyl store and art store. And Outlaw Moon, which is the gaming and vintage toy store. Square footage, about 6,000 square feet for Austin Books. Probably about 1,400 square feet for Guzu, and probably about 1,200 square feet for Outlaw Moon Games.
Okay, so let's just take 5 minutes, talk to your neighbors, just bounce some ideas around.
Is this just for those 3 places?
Bradley wants to concentrate on those.
I just thought it would be easier for us to focus our project on those Austin stores. But if you have a specific request, we don't have to.
There's some more beer, give me more biscuits. Okay.
Can you explain the King's Landing thing real quick? Like
Let's come back to it. Just work on a list of questions. And guys, for you online, why don't you just see if you can come up with some questions as well? And I'm going to lower the volume just so you can talk if you like.
One question that I didn't know was like his animation type cars and find out what they're doing and sort of has the competitive advantage.
Yeah, like who is looking back?
Like when you learn in class there,
Or is he looking
most
back?
information does come from copy. Because sort of copies, but with a twist on it, whatever is competitive advantage.
Today
Are you about to die?
Kitchen range.
That's just so take what his competitors are doing, sort of twist it and innovate it in a
Go
way
there,
that will
get down, get the auger.
give him the advantage over his
So the last time you've probably done this.
Yeah, it is.
The auger literally.
I like the
works.
word.
It's like Outlaw has like doing it. So I just have to call So I've got John all over me, and
Outlaw, that's the game in.
Or I guess-
Dallas.
sorry,
Austin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, so
Yeah.
I'm not common.
It's like, it's like real niche.
So anyway, I don't change, put all this back on.
And the other one's like
It's,
I hope they're done by the time you
more
get
how-
back. So-
kind of
I got it.
not the comic book stuff.
The staff, we were the retail staff from Washington
Yeah.
until late tonight, so. This is part of it.
Waco, there's also Kings.
My dad always told me.
I think they're pretty close.
Social distancing. They're walking around and going to the stores. Yeah, exactly.
I've been to
They have like, we were like, kids. I was wondering about hiring.
Where is it located? So they are.
Okay.
Long term.
Yeah.
Okay.
We still have, you know,
Also, just think about food. Is it more like focused on the UP students, the people local to the Austin area? Or is it, who really is the
More of this.
representative? Because there might be ways to spin off things to
no, I get it. That's,
grow
I'm
that
just saying,
market
you know, if you
in other subsections.
bring it in. Okay, well, next time, like, use this picture, and now maybe,
People or
I could have invited you.
It'd be hard to go. To get something you want. Those type of things are popular more nowadays. Obviously, that's kind of changed our environment.
Now, again, this is-
I went to a place in Dallas.
They sell things. Older games.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm just thinking for my walk home. You're good.
Okay. It's like extremely popular right now.
I was thinking like
Maybe there could be move by my business to an Austin location.
From Texas.
So how do you do
Austin does have a lot of food trucks.
Yeah, I just meant as far as cheaper to build up.
right?
No hurricane, edges.
He was saying the square foot has to pay for itself.
Yeah.
You might not want to build up in there, so therefore the food truck would be,
Absolutely, humidity is significantly less. They're not necessarily a good thing, it's like, start putting on chapstick like 10 times a day.
But this is,
He has like,
I mean,
his area is
not for discount,
like, humidity.
hopefully, we don't stay in this room for 5 years.
For 8 years after.
1 minute, and we get back to this, 1 minute.
repatriate back to a place that, where it's like.
Investing in some sort of computer.
The thing that we're doing.
Yeah, I'm looking at there's people. Yes, that's
That's a win.
These are leaders like.
How's your-
Shanghai.
And, we just go to one of the cafeterias, maybe,
I was last time. This was a while ago, this was 2011.
not the cafeteria. So sometimes you can
Pension
get.
before. But
Yeah, so we just go, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah, they should just have like a stock, ticker around their building.
And you know about Anna, she's trying to close the deal.
That doesn't count. It does count. It does count.
Yeah, so
You don't need a passport.
super tiny, just the CDs,
You need to buy an airplane.
but, hopefully that'll. Okay, guys, why don't we pull back together? I'd love to kind of indulge these questions, and for those of you online, you guys want to go first? Looks like we have some questions there. Somebody online want to take a stab at this? Matthew, Lucas, Shuki? Maybe?
Yeah, I was wondering what your inventory turnover is, just because I don't know how fast cards and comic books sell.
Repeat the question, please.
So I was wondering how fast your inventory turnover was, just because I don't know how fast like baseball cards and comic books sell for.
Yeah. How much they sell for is a different question than the inventory turnover. So
Excuse me, how fast they sell for. My bad.
fast, I say fast. It depends on the product. We're completely responsive to the marketplace. And a lot of those, there's 3 different factors. So for comics and sports cards, which are a limited capability product. In other words, we have unlimited capabilities of comics. So we can order 1,000 of Captain America number 25, which comes out in, shortly. I can order 1,000 of those and flood the market, or I can look at my cycle sheets and determine, so we have data based over years and years and years of experience, how many caps do we sell? How many people are on pull, which is a subscription service? And so I look at those numbers daily. That's what I was doing last night when I was talking about the Mandalorian helmet. I'm looking at, okay, in 3 months and 2 months, what books are coming out? In fact, I have to finish that order tonight. How many are we gonna sell, and what's my expectation? Is there gonna be something big, or something slow? Do I wanna maintain? And so that's the turnover ratio. That's a velocity statement and how fast we sell our books. Traditionally, over a period of time, we have about a 70 to 74% sell-through rate. Okay? So that means of all our books, on a month-to-month basis, we have about a 74% sell rate. That means roughly, 26, 27%, depending upon the book and what it is, may not sell. It could be other titles. Maybe you sell out of Cap, but you had, more Iron Man sitting there than you expected, which is what he talked about earlier. You have all these external factors, movies, television shows, all these different factors that, Chadwick Boseman just died, right? We're selling Black Panther like crazy. His action figures, Hot Toys, we have these actual action figures. Those things are selling for $299, now they're selling for about $450 to $479. I did not predict, nor did the world predict, that Chadwick Boseman was gonna die. He didn't even reveal it to anybody, right? So those are the factors. So to answer your question directly, I know I'm going long-winded here, I apologize. Pretty much a 74% breakthrough on a turnover rate on comics. Sports cards, that changes day to day and month to month and week to week. I couldn't even give you a number on that because every product is limited. Whereas comics, I don't have any limit on how much I can order new-wise. Sports cards, we're constantly being limited on what we order. So we might order 100 boxes and you're gonna get 20. The next time you might get 70, you just don't know. And so we have to respond to the market. Now, when we go to buy more on the secondary market, the price goes up, and then commensurately, the retail price goes up from there. So if anybody's following the NBA right now, we talked about Bol earlier. Any Prism product, which is a chrome-looking metal card, anything that's metal and prism like that from Panini is selling out. I have dealers buying what we have on our sales floor and taking it to shows and selling it for more. So we have to react to that. And you go, why did those customers just buy that for $150, and they're taking it and selling it up there for whatever, I don't know. So, I can't give you an answer on sports cards, but what we try to do is maximize so that we know, hey, what's the market and where should we be on that market? Our market percentage on sports cards is 1.6. So if a product costs us $100, we're gonna sell it for 160 roughly. So 60% on top of what we sell it, what we purchased it for. We try to add, any kind of additional cost, shipping, any kind of things into that cost, and then multiply that.
So fully loaded. Does that also apply to the games, for example?
Games are Keystone, which is basically double the price. So if it costs us, I don't know if they had it there. If this cost us, this is a vintage game, so it's not a good example, but let's use it for argument's sake. It's got $40 on it. Traditionally, it's gonna cost us $20. So it's Keystone, double the price. Sell-through rate on games, very slow. Settlers of Catan sells well. This game here, Unlocked, not so well. That's why it's here, because I've got lots of these. But these kind of things, that it's dependent upon. Right now, during COVID, there's a lot of families playing games. So we're selling more games. So we have to, but that's a Keystone price. So this retails $15, so our better cost was about $7.50. So you get the idea.
Hey, just to be clear, Matthew, you can correct me on this, but he might have been asking a balance sheet question. So
Okay.
you tend to run in a cash mindset,
I do.
but do you have, say, a market value or a book value on your warehouse full of inventory?
No.
Okay.
Not
Matthew,
that,
will you
not that I can come up with off the top of my head.
No, I like both answers. That was good.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Do you guys have a team or I'm sure you do for researchers, how and what to buy?
Like off the street buy or buy from our distribution network?
Your distribution network, so like baseball cards or trading cards, how do you know who to buy and what amount to buy of if they're not big yet? Do you just buy in bulk and hopefully they get big?
Well, it comes in packaged format, so packs of boxes of product. So you're looking at the team, that's me. And so I base it upon right now, it's based on whatever we can get because the product's still limited. So I'm trying to max out with all my distribution networks saying, hey, I'll take as much 2020 Bowman as you can get me. Draft is coming out, so the Major League Draft that just happened was so small because MLB shortened it to only 5 rounds. So the new product is gonna be very, very limited in its nature by its product, how much they make, and how much they actually contain, what the contents of those players. So, to answer your question, there's not a team, it's me that does the ordering for Waco, and then my brother Brad does all the ordering for our Austin store. And
His
then we
nickname
basically,
is Encyclopedia.
so all our data, all our information is based upon intuition, market factors, what we think is gonna sell. So for example, Jason Dominguez is a rookie for the Yankees. 16 years old, supposed to be the next coming of Joe DiMaggio. So his product, his rookies are in this year's product. And so everyone's buying those up as fast as they can, so it's driving that product. Does that answer your question? Kind of. More questions? Yes, sir.
Do you single-handedly run the operations as far as on all of these stores? Like or is there like a head for each store or?
Sure, we have store managers. We have store managers.
But
So
that's what's managers. I mean, like as far as like, they only do like, not just the store operations, but like as far as maybe ideas, as far as plans or projections, or like, they come up with their own things, or do you kind of come up with the initiatives and like the innovation side of it?
I think it's a team effort. So we include, it's run like a small family business. I mean, as many customers and people that we have over all this time period of experience, you kind of have to operate as best you can. So yes, I think we still take the lead, but if Brandon, I was just telling Brad, if Brandon is one of our lead guys at Outlaw Moon, and he knows, hey, COVID's causing all our in-person gaming to be down, we need to find a way to compensate for that. So he, of his own volition, says, hey, I'm gonna start selling more on CGC Player. So he's selling a lot of cards on CGC Player, which would be Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. He's selling them that way because he's gotta find a way to generate revenue. So I give him credit for that. He'll check off with us, we're like, yeah, do that. So it's a very structured business, but in a lot of ways, we receive and understand information. Right now, the guys at the store, Jeremy and Carter, are closing up here in about 40 minutes. And they'll be asking me, hey, this customer here bought these, did you want to make sure, restock those, or do you not want to restock those? And so it's communication. Does that answer your question? Yes, sir.
So you said you buy like the cards and like packs in like bulk. But do you ever go into like the secondary market and buy like a rookie card that you think might
Absolutely.
be way more expensive? In
Absolutely.
the
We're
future?
always speculating on guys. So that's an emotional thought process. So meaning customers tend to want baseball players in baseball season. They want football players in football season. They want basketball players in basketball season. But right now, that's pretty much all out the window because of COVID. But the answer is yes. So we were buying Dak and Zeke and those rookies in the spring when no one else was talking about football, so we can understand the market dynamics there. So we're hedging against and going, okay, hey, we're going to buy these products. So in the fall, and right now, as I talked about earlier, Dak's cards are blowing up. And before I walked in here, I'm texting Brad Yorko, who's my sports guy, and I'm saying, hey, pay attention to this. This is what's going on with Dak's cards. So we're going to have to pull some from our inventory, toss them up on the sales floor, or if we feel like we have enough, which we probably don't, then we'll sell some online.
How many cards do you have?
Just on the premise in Waco, 2.1 million. Beyond that, I don't know.
Did you say?
You mean in the store
2.1 million,
on Valley Mills,
2.1
you
million.
have 2.1 million cards?
2.1.
How do you track them? How do you keep hold of them?
Each box that we store them in holds roughly 5,000 cards.
Do you know what's in there, like an index?
They're separated by year and brand. So it's a 2020 Bowman for Jason Dominguez, so it's a 2020 Bowman. So we keep everything separated. And so when we receive the products in, they don't come, to answer your question earlier, they come in the packs and in the boxes. Sometimes we break them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes customers break and they get what they want, they just shove the rest in. We take those and put those into our inventory. And so there's a guy right now from Leavenworth, Kansas, sitting in a booth that I was just referencing, and he's going through trying to finish his set. So we're kind of a dying breed, run a card shop like the old school way, back in the day where you come in, you sit down, instead of being online, which is what most people have gone to now, you can actually sit down and go through cards. So this guy drove here from Leavenworth, Kansas. Actually, he's a soldier, but beyond that, he's sitting there appreciating what we do, and so he's going through and pulling cards, finishing his set, and then he'll buy those to finish his set.
When you're
Yeah.
when you're buying cards, are you buying like specific cards? Are you buying like packages?
Both. Both. But in bulk, to answer your question, which is what he asked here, traditionally, we're buying from the manufacturers or from our distribution network in packs and in boxes. Not packs, boxes and cases. So packs come in the box comes in a case. We'll buy as many cases as we can get of each product that comes from Topps, from Panini, from Sage, from Upper Deck. Those are the companies that we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
So do you know what's in each pack? Like, are you aware of that? Or is it like if I were to go to the store and buy a pack and I just kind of open it up and it's like a surprise?
Correct. It's more random. You don't know what you're gonna get. Now, you know that you're gonna get that particular year and that particular brand. So you're gonna get, if you're buying Jason Dominguez 2020 Bowman, then you know you're buying 2020 Bowman. That's gonna have all 2020 Bowmans in there.
Okay, I gotcha.
It could be, could not be. A box has anywhere from 12 to 18, sometimes 36 packs in there. There's so many cards per pack, and they're constantly changing that from their perspective on a production side to be profitable.
So you might buy a case that doesn't have.
Well, I mean, the likelihood is you're gonna get one out of a box. There's only maybe 220 cards in that set, so if there's 10 cards per pack, there's 360 cards in that box, you're probably gonna get one or two in that particular box. Now, the sought after aspect of it is the kind of the Cracker Jackson prize would be the autographs and the game used, the numbered stuff. That can be big bucks. That's the lottery prize aspect of it. Yes, sir.
Is there a certain brand you make the most money off from as far as Topps, Upper Deck, and some of those? Is there one that's more favored?
It depends by sport. So baseball currently is Topps. Topps has the exclusive rights to baseball. Now, that's licensed, so they can put the Texas Rangers logo on the card. Panini has rights to the Player Association, but they do not have rights to the logos. So basically, you see Mike Trout, he's got a red hat on. Or you see, I don't know, Giancarlo Stanton, he's got just a dark black hat on, or a Yankee hat without the Yankees logo. So that's Topps. Football is Panini, and then basketball is Panini, and then hockey is at Upper Deck. So each company's kind of isolated themselves, and that's just happened over the last probably 4, 5, 6 years. Yes, sir.
So you said you have like a sports guy. Do you have like a comic books guy who has like insider like information?
I have
on
two.
When
I have two.
or-
Carter and Jeremy, and they're at the store right now, yeah. And in Austin, we have Ty, and I mentioned Brandon and Trevor and a few several guys that work down there. So they're constantly, and I should say this, you are kind of going down, and that's fine. I love that part of it, the speculative side. That's a very defined form of what we do. Most of what we do is guy comes in and says, hey, I want all Marvel titles, or I want Captain America and Iron Man, but I don't like, Stargirl or whatever. That's what goes on. So that is one form of what we do, and we do have to have knowledge of that. That's just one form of what we do. The rest of it is just moving product out. Hey, I want to read the next story. If we're selling the story and we're selling the intrinsic value of that comic, the customer's going to buy it, good, bad, worth something, or worth nothing, right? Now, there is that speculative side of it, and I love that part of it, but we cannot always rest in that. There's people who rest in that, and your business is going to be up, it's going to be down, it's going to be all, it's going to be nothing. We try to do it all. Yes, sir.
What does your demand look like for like a yearly cycle? Do you have like fluctuations for holidays or like when kids get out for summer, or is it fairly linear throughout the year?
It's seasonal, to answer your question. So sports cards are very seasonal. So emotion drives it. So baseball, football, I already said that. Comics tend to be responsive, like he was saying, responsive to movies and responsive to, I saw Mandalorian's about to start their second season, right? So our Mandalorian sales will start to spike. There's comic books of that. Stranger Things, when that season starts up, we'll see a spike in that. There's always demand spikes and increases and decreases that we have to ride through, and we adjust our numbers accordingly.
Can we, I'd like to focus us just a little bit on these two stores, because I think we're getting a good feel for the general sort of understanding of the business, but let's talk about Guzu and Outlaw Moon for just a second.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask what I think it will be a revealing question. Who are the repeat customers of Guzu, and who are the repeat customers at Outlaw Moon?
Outlaw Moon would be your gamers who are wanting to be part of a community, right? I don't see that the Outlaw Moon has they have a customer base, but not the level that Austin Books has. Guzu, I don't know that you have really a repeat customer. It's almost the product itself by its nature, after all of this
Okay,
kind of
you
stuff.
just scared and gave a heart attack to everybody who's in marketing.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think Outlaw Moon has a market because of the compelling community nature of gaming. This kind of market is just, you buy this stuff one-offs. It's not, there's nothing in this, anybody familiar with blind boxes? Y'all bought blind boxes before? It's just like a little character, it's a little, you were opening this one earlier. So here's Cryptkins. Get an idea of this, what we're talking about. So this is a little plastic vinyl character of a little demonic looking squirrel. So, got that one. So this little squirrel is apparently not very rare, but he is right here, and you can see there's some blacked out there. So this is the kind of stuff they sell. It's very impulsive. It's almost like it's a counter wrap at your, at a retail store. And when you go to Walmart and you're walking out, you see all that stuff. That's what they do. Now they also have art stuff we've talked about, and they have all this kind of intrinsic stuff. But this is what they primarily sell. And apparently you get an identity card as well, which has a little character on there. But anyway, I think in my opinion, you nailed where we're kind of going with this. Guzu tends to have not a lot of community. There's not this flow of humanity that's constantly, and I think about it, that's probably what the problem with it is. Whereas Outlaw Moon, I think, has a community, but right now they're devoid of that because of COVID. Yes, sir.
Why do you think Guzu doesn't have a community, being that it is kind of an artsy store in an artsy city?
I think it's because the products they sell and the product mix they have does not engender a long term. If you're a fan of Bernie Wrightson and he's there that night, then why are you going back? Okay, you like the customer service. They have a 6-foot pink stormtrooper in the corner. It's $7,000. Over there they have so
What? A
6-foot
A,
pink.
a pink stormtrooper, which
Yeah, that
never.
somebody made it, I don't know, I don't know.
It's art, it's art.
Yeah.
Labbits, you may know what a labbit is? It's like a little smoking rabbit. You know, you can tell my own disdain for this stuff. Sofubus, you may know what sofubus are. Sofubu?
No, no.
It's like if you took Iron Man and made a very round manga looking figure of him, that's a sofubu. Took Harley Quinn, make a round, it's random stuff. But that's what the store is. And then they have an art gallery in there, and they have a lot of kind of, you know, they've got a whole wall. If you go to the photos today, I just challenge each of you, go to Guzu's Google site and drive and look and see. They have a whole wall of Godzilla, whole wall.
Okay, where would we get the freshest pictures? Because I was actually gonna ask for a recent set.
I would think your freshest pictures are from customers who are taking them on a day-to-day basis. I just did a Google search when I was there. So, and then, you know, how you have your identity on the right, click on that, just look at the photos.
Okay.
But my point is that I don't think Guzu has the same level. I'm sure there's people who love Vince. Vince is the guy that runs that store. He's an art guy, much like to your point. But I think personally that they don't have the same community percentage. So if you said, hey, Austin Books has, you know, 2,500 customers, how many of those are loyal to Austin Books?
Yeah.
You know, 70%, 60%, 80%, I don't know that number. If you said the same, if Guzu has 250 customers, I bet their percentage is very small as far as a regular return customer. Because
Are you
it
willing
just,
to share anonymized data about customers? Like how many customers, and if you have them identified, like repeats? Could we get reports like that?
I'd have to ask Austin for those, but I'm certain
Okay.
he can come up with it.
Don't want names, but if you have them coded so that, you know, this person
Sure.
came in 6 times last year.
Right, right. I totally
Would that
get
be
it.
helpful? I mean, I don't wanna bother if it's, okay, I see some nodding. At least some
I
people-
just think that you hit it on the head, is that I think Guzu by its nature, the product selection that they have is not a natural reoccurring. The habitual aspect of comics and sports cards is that you're driven to come back for more. The comic book is serialized, issue 17, 18, 19, 20, month by month by month by month. That drives the customer base.
Yeah,
Sports cards, much to your points earlier, is driven by how much is limited. Hey, that's coming out, that's the 21 version, that's the 22 version, that's the 23 version. Hey, that Ricky's in there. What does Guzu have? Okay, I got lots of hands. So I think you were first, and then you were second and third. Go.
So you sell toys at Austin Books and at Guzu?
Different types of toys, but yes.
What is the type of toys you sell at Austin versus the type of toys?
Austin Books is traditionally going to be higher end, kind of more normalized superhero related, whereas Guzu's going to be more your odd smoking rabbit or 6-foot stormtrooper. Over here,
Yeah, so what type of customers are going to Guzu and how are they different than Austin Books?
I think there is, I said earlier, I think there's some synergy. I think
Okay.
customers are going to both, but it's just if you go to Austin Books and you're a comic book fan, you're gonna spend a couple $100, maybe $50, maybe $500, you're gonna spend some money. If you're going next door to Guzu, you know, number one, you've already tapped most of your resources at one store, and then the next store doesn't have the same appeal. Now, how many people are going specifically there for a labbit, a smoking rabbit, or a blind box of a Krypton? That's the question. I don't know the answer. Yes, sir, let's go here next.
So you said that you have people that come to Guzu and do art drawings?
Yeah, so they do art galleries. They'll have, Bernie Wrightson's one of the most famous macabre horror artists of all time. And those kind of guys, when they show up, they do signings at that store. Donnie Cates is another Austin guy. There's Austin, as you said earlier, is a heavily artistic influenced marketplace. So people love that. If you go meet the artist, talk to them, they'll have $10,000 paintings on the wall that never
Is that
sell.
like, those people come once and they?
Yeah, they'll do schedules. They'll schedule, hey, Vince is in that network, and he's gonna have a guy come in and say, hey, this week we're gonna have so-and-so, or this week we're gonna have this guy, or this woman, do a art show. It's just one facet of what we do, because that business is not that sustainable. Okay, someone else was hands, I forget who it was. Yes, ma'am?
I know we've talked about this a million times, but, are you saying that most of the customers at Guzu, you would say, have been to your other stores, or are just kind of going into the next store because it's, they know it's part of it, or they're kind of there?
I think-
Or would you say it's more random than that, where like they might only go to Guzu and not the next year store?
I doubt, this is my opinion, and I do not have any evidence other than sales to dictate this. In my opinion, I think there's fewer return customers going to Guzu because the market, the place, the product selection does not engender that kind of loyalty. I think a lot of these products that we sell in Guzu just don't naturally have a habitual nature to them. I don't wanna go back there over and over and over again, ooh, I wanna get another demonic squirrel.
Yeah, but
Right.
because like, you said your location is they're all next to each other, right? I mean,
They
not
are.
all, but the three.
Yeah.
So are most of the people that happen to wander in the one time from your other stores?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay, they're not just like.
I don't think they're
wandering
going, they're not pulling up going, I'm going to Guzu, cause man, there are people who love Godzilla.
Yeah, okay.
I think their product selection, and this is, you're seeing me reveal a little bit to you, but I want y'all to see that, is that, in my opinion, those stores have a limited nature to them. Whereas Austin Books is a larger umbrella, that's a much smaller, little rain hat. Someone over here had a question, was it you? Someone? No.
Why are they separate?
What, in the interest of time, last question, so.
I was just gonna ask, how is, since you've been in this business for many years, how has this changed, since digitization has increased and people can just go online and look at things? It seems like a comic store is something that's like a habitual experience, like where somebody enjoys going in there and doing it. But also there's some people that like may have went to a comic store, but don't want to put in the effort and then sort of Google it now.
Absolutely.
So like, how's that affect your business?
I think two things. One, it is happening. And we have it all the time now. Where it was almost embarrassing to pull your phone out and scan a trade paperback or scan a toy and see if I can find it someplace else. That happens all the time now. So we have to be competitive in our pricing. Two, I think customer service has to win out. So if it's $19.99 at our store and $17.99 on Amazon, are they willing to pay that $2 to get it now from the friendly customer service rep? And I hope that's the answer is yes to that.
Okay.
You had a quick question. You said, why did they expand?
Why are they separate? Why keep Guzu separate? Is it
Well,
structurally different?
structurally, we were limited on the space. Austin Books was the original animal, and it's grown, and it's at capacity. If you ever, just look at the photos online, they're capacity. So they had, and this is something that I was hesitant to reveal, but we did not want a competitor coming in and leasing that space on the corner, which is a high-profile spot. It was a print shop for most of our existence, but several years ago, that print shop went out of business, and we took it over, basically as a defensive mechanism to prevent another competitor or a similar-based product coming in there.
So there's some value in that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Hey guys, I know we're out of time. I have one question, but let's give Brent a hand. Thank you. Right here, Steve, we got the swag bag for their business. So thank you, Brent, for coming in.
Good.
Hey, grad students, can we all be present on Tuesday? Could I have all of you in class?
Yes.
Yes. We're good to go? Undergrads, you get the day off. Sorry, man. Undergrads will not have class on Tuesday. I'll send out an announcement just so you remember. But I'm just going to meet with the grads and get our project started.
If you have questions for me, you're welcome to come and ask.
You're welcome,
me questions
undergrads.
for me.
Thank you, guys. I'll send out announcements with details.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, it's actually really popular. I had somebody, beginning of the pandemic, email me wanting it, and I didn't have one